Then we'll go about some of the experiences that I had serving medicine with Iboga to other people. We're talking about the glowing part, which is something very unique that I experienced at some point, which is now the fundamental aspect of everything that I do. And then a little bit about the heart coherence, which we will put together everything through a little meditation at the end here. That's a bit the agenda of the presentation. Alright, so experiencing the truth. When I had that thought in that fateful day, when I was in pitch black darkness in a room that I created for myself, a room that had not a single photon of light. It's called a darkness room. And I was 8 days past it at this point. And the thought that I had was to do a double ceremony, which means taking the medicine Iboga 2 nights in a row. And for some reason, this gave me the most fear out of anything in my entire life. I felt that a lot of things could go wrong. I was 8 days fasted after all. I was working with something that's, for a lot of people, is considered the most powerful plant medicine on the planet. And I was going to do that alone in this dark room for 2 nights in a row. It just felt completely crazy. But as I mentioned earlier, somehow there's this part of me inside that was kind of screaming at me and saying, you have to do it. And I was battling with that part of me. I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. This is way too dangerous, way too crazy. But it was still saying, you have to do it. And I was like, what if something bad happens? What if I can die? Which I felt that could very well be the outcome of this. But still, it was kept going, you have to do this. And so I did it. And all the worst scenarios that I pictured in my mind of what could happen, what could go wrong, well, it actually happened. A lot of the things that I had foreseen would be potentially dangerous occurred. I had to battle my way with a lot of entities that night, of that second night, in the pitch black darkness, and relying on solely myself, my soul, my trust in the divine, to go through that night. And at some point, I actually felt myself falling. I felt myself losing consciousness little by little, as if I was falling into a deep hole that had no end to it. And as it was happening, everything inside of me was kind of alerting me that something was happening. Something that was, in a sense, dangerous. Something that could be the end of it. And then I had another thought in that moment was, wait, am I dying right now? And as soon as I thought that, something inside of me, it was like a discharge of electricity, almost as if something put a defibrillator on my heart. And suddenly I jolted of energy, and I literally landed on my knees. I was laying down moments ago. And when I thought, am I dying? I had this discharge of energy that got me to my knees. And then I had some emotions that I had never felt before. All my life I had been seeking so many things, going through all the corners of the earth to find out what exactly, if it only ultimately led to me almost dying in this moment. And so I was just done with it all. I started sobbing with my knees on the floor, and I just put my head on the floor. And I said out loud, while sobbing, to who I don't know, but I just said out loud, all I want is the truth. In this moment, there's nothing else inside of me. There was only that. It just felt like I had done all these efforts, all these preparation, all this seeking, and ultimately what I wanted was only the truth. That was all of it. And so then I went on with the journey. I went back, laid down, started dealing with the situation that was going on there, but I was just no more into it. Something had changed. I couldn't focus anymore. I just was kind of like done with the whole process. And maybe 30 minutes later or so, I decided to quit. I was done with it all, and I just left the dark room, went back in another room. It was sunrise. I had been in that dark room for many, many hours at this point. And for some reason, in this other room, I had my phone, and I was doing an Iboga ceremony So I was in a different state of consciousness. Everything was a lot crazier than normal, let's just say. And for some reason, I took my phone and I decided to open it and just go on YouTube, which is not something that one does when in that state of consciousness. But still, I went on YouTube and I opened the random video, the first one that popped up in the suggested video. And it was really, really strange to me because that video, it was almost as if everything that it talked about was directly connected to my entire life. And I started to feel that everything was kind of made for me to watch it in that very moment. And it was a very unique feeling that was kind of blowing my mind initially. And even the way the video was filmed was exactly the same way that all the visions that I had ever received with yoga came to me. It was almost as if this video itself was something that I needed to watch at this very moment. And the more that I started to think about this, the more that I started having these chills all over my body, wondering what was going on, wondering why is this video so direct to my life. And then the video stopped and a second one started automatically by the same creator. And the title of that one was The Quest for Truth. And as soon as I heard that this was the title of the video, I had even more of these shivers going on inside of me. I was like, wait a minute,